Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we're talking about Fear the Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 11, and our recommendations on Ozark, Shining Girl, Under the Banner of Heaven, and more. Hi, Margaret. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, Diana. I'm really good. Just a little nip and tuck, that's all.
If only people had a visual. Oh, my goodness.
That is dangerous. Dangerous.
I had to do a lot to keep my composure as you were trying to make me laugh, making faces at me. All right. So, because there have been, people in Fear the Walking Dead flipping or making sort of rash decisions, it made me think about all the other characters. And so I want to know, who do you think is the least trustworthy of Fear the Walking Dead characters?
At this point, I think it's Wes, because he's kind of shifty. He's not really, if you notice, he's really not into any of the conversations that are out. He seems like he's out in left field when people are having these intense conversations. He's not really connected. So I don't trust him because of that. Because he just doesn't seem emotionally invested in anything. How about you?
I don't know. Everybody's going through my head right now. I would have possibly said Charlie, but I don't know. She kind of came through for our group in the end.
No, she's not dead yet.
I know.
But that's an obvious choice, though, because she came in working it. So,
yeah. I guess I would have to agree with you at this point. It probably has to be Wes, because thinking about everybody else, I was slightly worried last week with June and John Dory Sr., because I'm like, what side of the fence are they on? But then they, it came to light that they were just playing the game. So yeah, I'm going to agree with you. At this point, it's going to be Wes. Fear the Walking Dead friends out there, tell us what you think. Who do you think is the least trustworthy, and why? Because maybe you have some ideas that we're not even thinking about right now, and we would love to know. So you can leave us a comment on social media, our website, or email at screensinfocus@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. The links are in our show notes. Okay, so Fear the Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 11, entitled Ofelia. We see Luciana try and help Daniel as he struggles with his memory. But when he goes missing, searching for his dead daughter, Ofelia, Luciana and Wes track him down, only to be captured by Arno and his group, who are looking to get coordinates to the whereabouts of the weapons by any means necessary. So, Margaret, what did you think of this episode?
I loved this episode. It's what I really wanted from the get-go. And just showing, so for me, Daniel kind of lost his presence in the last season because he just wasn't really featured. So I really loved that they featured him, because he's an incredible actor anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that they brought in the Spanish was kind of interesting, but I love that they let him just be this devious, sort of conniving, kind of really smart actor, as far as not actor, but actor within the group and within the scenes and the setting. And I loved his little snickers, when he said to Arno to shoot him, go ahead, shoot me. And he did. And he tried to, and there was no bullet. So then he's like, you kind of pulled one on me. So I thought that the fact that he could appreciate that was kind of funny. And then the very first, before they even show the credits, the very first few minutes of the scene when they're in captive, and he's like, but they don't know what we can do to them. I just thought that was really kind of funny too. So it's, for me, it set up the whole thing. So I started watching to see him kind of manipulate the situation and the circumstances to kind of plot and, kind of control and pretty much get what he wants, because he's not going to stop. So I just thought it was really, really kind of interesting. But anyway, what about you? What did you like the episode?
I loved it too. I loved it too. An apocalypse can really test you as a human being. And Daniel has always been such a great character. But I also thought it was surprising, interesting, and a bit exciting to see, these unexpected moves by Luciana and Wes, moves that made their characters more complex. And with Daniel and Luciana, I really did love seeing their relationship from the get-go, the moment that she was playing that card game with him to help him with his memory. I just liked their interaction and watching them. It felt like a family between them. And although it was surprising to hear him call her Ofelia, it was also understandable because it kind of felt like a family daughter type relationship between them. And I too liked that they spoke Spanish to each other. And there was quite a bit of Spanish in there.
Oh,
and,
I know.
I really liked it. I appreciated it. And I understood what they were saying. And then I wondered if anything was lost if you didn't understand it, because there's a certain sentiment to the way that he says certain phrases that there felt like a real warmth and familiarity in that connection for me. But I was so surprised by Luciana's shift to lie to him, because she was so protective of him and then he tells her how fragile his mind is, and that something about him being lied to could really break him. But she continues to tell him that Strand has Ofelia at the tower because he said that it brings clarity when he knows he's searching for his daughter. And so that's what she wants him to have, is clarity. And she wants to save the people, bring them to the tower. And so she uses that, which, yeah, like I said, was really, really surprising, especially because she questioned Arno, what are you doing? You're using him. You're manipulating him. And she even tells Daniel, they're manipulating you. And then here she's doing the same thing. I know her reasons are different for doing it, but I still think, nah, you're going to get burned. I think she's going to get burned. And I'm scared for her because Daniel can be pretty ruthless. And, look what he does to Arno for lying to him.
Yeah, but he doesn't like Arno.
I know. That is true too. But he yells at him. You made me do this. When he's down there in that cage.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't know. I think now that she has the weight of all of those other people that she's responsible for.
Yeah.
And if this supposedly gives him clarity, I don't believe she really sees it as a lie, because he, in that aspect of his mind, is not here anyway. So, if that's going to get the job done, that's why she's going to say it. But I also think that he's going to end up dying, and then he'll be with her, with Ofelia.
Yeah.
So, in that sense.
Right.
And I think that's what he intimates in some of the conversation that he has toward the end, too. That's what I got. That's the first thing I thought of, is he's expecting to find her and see her, because he knows she's dead, but I think it's because he knows he's going to be dead, too. And that's when he's going to see her.
Mm-hmm. But he does say the three of us will be family and will welcome you. So I thought about that too. And I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean the three of them?
Oh, that Luciana will die too?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Made me wonder.
What about the cat? He mentioned the cat.
Yeah. His
like,
poor kitty.
What happened to the cat?
Yeah.
I bet wonder. Stroud has the cat.
Strand?
Oh, whatever his name is. Yeah. Strand. I bet Strand has the guest. Who's Stroud? That's from another show. Gotta be. Not my neighbor.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God. Well, I do think, yes, that those two, maybe they'll all we know they're going to get into the tower. It's just a matter of who's going to actually end up confronting the other. And I have a feeling that, it's going to be between Daniel and Strand, and they'll confront each other, and who knows what will happen. But I think Strand is too powerful and too interesting a character for them to just kill. But you never know.
Yeah.
And Daniel, I feel like, is a little more disposable, but only because he's got all these weaknesses or these ailments. But you never know. I mean, he could just be locked in a closet and then that's it for him. But I found that it was interesting that Wes, who Alicia picked up, he's the artist who was painting the trees and doing all that kind of stuff, and lost the brother because the brother was part of that whole underground group with Teddy. And I just feel like he's never really been like I said earlier, connected to anything emotionally or physically, and he's just sort of that lost boy kind of thing. So for him to leave the group was, for me, not surprising. To go out on his own was great. What shocked me was that he showed up at the tower, at the outpost, and was dialing up Strand's phone. And I just thought that was really kind of interesting because he went through this whole thing about telling Luciana about how everybody contradicts what they say and they don't really mean what they do the opposite of what they say, and they're just kind of manipulating everybody, that, every which way. And I just thought it was kind of interesting because that's exactly what he ended up doing. So what a hypocrite, right? I mean, what a stupid jerk. So it'll be interesting to see who offs him, because I feel like he's going to get killed because he's kind of, set it up for himself to be gone. But I don't know. They need to have some It's like those reality TV shows, and they keep the most annoying people on there. They don't vote them off. And you're like, why aren't you getting rid of these people? Well, because they pay the bills. They're the ones that people want to see because they're so freaking whacked. Wes is not so whacked. I mean, he's just a jerk. Strand is crazy. So he's entertaining.
I have liked Wes up until now, and I thought this storyline was fascinating because he hasn't done anything to make me feel like he was untrustworthy until the end. That was the only reason I mentioned him at the beginning when we did our question of the day. But if we had asked that and we didn't see that, I don't know that I would have named him, because he killed his brother to help this group. And when they were lowering him in that cage, he wasn't giving it up. So he has been committed to this group. So I thought it was interesting that they had him flip just because Luciana, changes how she's doing things. And again, she's not doing it because she's selfish or bad or anything. She's doing it because she thinks she has to help everybody. She's trying to help people, not herself, everybody. So even though maybe I wouldn't do what she did, because I think she could have worded it differently and maybe answered Daniel a little bit differently, although maybe he wouldn't go forward if she had said something differently. But I just think that he just flipped just too easily for me. And then I thought, well, maybe he's setting up people. Maybe he will come to end up helping his group again. I mean, we're really not going to know until we see what happens to him when they do, when our group, Fear the Walking Dead group, does reach the tower and what happens there. But I don't know. I'm still holding out hope for him. I really am. And, I wondered about him and Alicia, because they were like kind of an item, it felt like. And then she got, she went off with Teddy and it was, captured by him. And then she met Will. And then Will was her love interest, but then he died. And now she's come back to the submarine because we saw her with Morgan on the first episode, but then we didn't see her interaction with anybody else. So I'm like, where does she and Wes stand now? And apparently not in a good position, because you'd think he would be like, I'm coming back. But if was still feeling those feelings toward her, why would he just leave? So I felt like they kind of left that piece of it dangling, and we don't really know.
No, so, but you know what, really, I mean, this came to my head when you were talking. Perhaps he's going to, I mean, we all think he wants to get into the tower for his own purposes, right? Well, maybe he's getting in there so that he can figure out a way to make it easier for everybody else to get in there. So he's going to like disrupt. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of alluded to that. I think you're right about that. I think that he's conniving in a whole different way. So maybe he is trustworthy. He just goes about it in an awfully roundabout manner.
I think it's hard to know. And with the writing on this season, it's hard for us to know. He could go either way. He could be there to help our group, and just the way Charlie was, right? I mean, Charlie was sent there on a mission, and he's not sent there on a mission, but maybe somehow he'll change his way. I'm sure he left because he was mad at Luciana. I do believe that part. But once he gets there, is he going to change his mind, or is he out for himself? I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. So I'm not saying one way or the other, because I really don't know which way he's going to lean. But I do know he was trying to get some answers to make him feel better about his decision with killing his brother.
Yeah.
Which he didn't get, because Daniel cut the guy's throat.
Yeah, but what would the guys... Yeah. I mean, so he worked with him? I mean, there's other people that he could have asked, because there were more than... I mean, that whole group of people. True. You know, he gave up. I mean, so I feel like he's just an undeveloped character. I feel like they haven't really put in enough time. I mean, they started out really good with him when he appeared on the scene. And then it just kind of got very convoluted with this whole underground group and this Teddy guy and this worshiping the dead guy, you know, in the middle of the cafeteria or wherever he was.
Yeah.
And it just was kind of like, oh, this is a little too out there for me. So, and it didn't, you know, and then Teddy blows everybody up. And it's like, why? It just didn't make any sense. And then for, what's her face, the little girl that was so entranced.
Dakota.
Yeah, by him. It made no sense because she called out Virginia. She knew Virginia was bad. So why wouldn't she be able to realize this old guy who is like granddaddy? You know, I mean, same kind of craziness that happened. Yeah. So I don't know. This is a little less than for me. Yeah. For story.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. For story and for character development, at least for the newer people.
Well, I will be disappointed if he continues with the Tower people. Like, I think he could be on their side. He could try and help them. I don't know. But if he doesn't switch and help them at the end, that'll be disappointing.
Yeah, but I mean, Diana, the people who are already there are part of the group, and they're living there, and they're surviving there, and they're doing their own thing there. So it's not like it's completely.
But once he gets there, there is going to be some type of war. So he's going to have to make a decision. So it's not like he's just going to go there and live there. That's not what's going to happen, because he's going to go there and this war is going to happen between them. So he's going to have to quickly decide if he's going to point a gun against Alicia, Morgan, and the rest, or if he's not. That's what I think. And so where's his gun pointed? That's what I want to know.
At the dead. So, what about all those bubbly dead heads? I swear.
Tell me other thoughts and tidbits you have.
I don't understand. So you don't want to go near them. You don't want to be around them. But again, is this radiation? What are they going to, if you poke them, they'll explode? No, because that girl who was helping Arno, who speared that one guy through the head, didn't explode, didn't do anything. So it's like you've got these radioactive people around you. What does that mean? How can they be used as weapons? Light them on fire and watch them explode and it's a bomb all over again? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand that. So I'm not happy that they've not really indicated what that whole deal is. And the other kind of little thing that bothered me is, why do they always have to kill like one of the main people? I mean, why can't they just sort of drag it out? You know, like Negan. Negan has been strung along and never died. And, you know, and he's one of those villain people. But Arno, they got rid of him. He was a real soft, wimpy kind of guy. And he still, you know, because he wasn't very strong. Right. You know, these people are leading him because he got a big mouth and he lost a hand.
How did he lose a hand? Did we see that?
I don't know, but it wasn't there, so I know.
I know. I'm like, when did he lose a hand? Did I miss that, or did he never have the hand? I was confused.
No, I think he probably did lose it in battle, and maybe they had a scene that they cut how he explained it. I don't know. Maybe that's why they took him out, because he wasn't really this charismatic sort of person, that anybody would really, really follow. The other thing that I realized is that it's like everybody is so desperate to find somebody who can give them an alternative to whatever they're experiencing. They don't care. They're not using their heads with picking a good leader or trying to vote in the right person to lead the group and take care of the group. Yeah. They're relying upon people who may have displayed some act of heroism, and wow, that got him to the top of the pile. But still, I mean, he just went down so poorly, being chewed on.
I know. I was surprised that he didn't die down there and that they brought him up and he was still living. That was a surprise to me. I'm like, what? He's still alive? His legs are all chopped off or chomped off.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. And then Luciana is like yelling at him to keep him awake because she wants to get the last information out of him. She's like, wait. I'll help your people. Just tell me why should we be worried about these radiated people? And I am with you on the radiated people. Like, what does this mean? I looked it up because you know how last episode we kept wondering, if you're around radiated people, does it affect you? Well, I read if somebody gets radiated, only goes through their body, so they can't really expose it to you. So why on the walkers? Is it because they're all bubbly? Is it because they're have a tense amount? I don't understand that.
It's got to be the juice.
Yeah.
But maybe because they're already dead and that it infiltrates their fluids, then the fluid is radioactive. Kind of like mercury, Mercury's not radioactive, but I mean, it's not good for you if you ingest it or get it on your skin or whatever, because it absorbs through. So maybe you could get burned from them because of that, because they're, I don't know.
Well, Arno said you can't get near them. So he didn't say you can't touch them or let them. He says you can't get anywhere near them. So it made it sound like they are exuding something. And so I'm like, what? I don't know. I need to know more about this. I tried to Google it. Couldn't find any more information.
Well, this is science fiction. So, No,
but I want some answers,
they made it up. Maybe there is some truth in whatever they're selling us.
So I don't know if you knew, but this was directed by Alicia Debham Carey.
No, I didn't know that.
I saw that. My gosh.
It's interesting.
So I knew beforehand that she had said that this was the episode she was going to direct. So when I was watching it the first time, it dawned on me and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the episode. And then when I watched it the second time, I even appreciated so much more. I'm like, man, she did a good job, because there were so many good things that I really loved in this episode. And I'm so happy for her, because I think she did a really phenomenal job of getting those moments from Luciana and Daniel, and even when Daniel went out on his own and went to that play yard, and that walker on that carousel that was like going around, it's all like trying to grab at him. And then the other one that got on him, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's so burnt up and it's trying to eat him. I'm like, is it even hungry? It's like, how does this thing work? Your body is like disintegrated. You don't even have probably a stomach anymore. I'm like, why do you want to eat Daniel? And then just even through Daniel's goggles, because I haven't liked some of the shots in previous episodes sometimes when they do that, but I really liked this one. I like the moment of him walking and how everything looks so misty. I don't know. I just thought there were so many good shots. And then the walkers, like you said, when they were jabbing them with the spear, the face of that walker was so, shot really well. The view was really good. Just so many moments. I just thought she did a really, really good job for her directorial debut.
Oh, was it hers?
Yes, it was. Oh. And I really liked their costumes. We know that Arno and his group have that look a little little bit Game of Thrones-y.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And I actually like that our group had that look too, and how Daniel had kind of that sweater thing around his head. I don't know. I just like their costuming. I thought it was, I did appreciate that. And when they were speaking Spanish, I kept wondering to myself, how is it that no one else knows how to speak Spanish or even understand it? And then Arno says, yeah, I understand what you guys are saying. I'm like, thank you. Oh, and then when Luciana goes to convince the Arno's group after he's killed to join them, I thought it was interesting that one gal says, this is what Teddy would have wanted. I'm like,
I know, right? Yeah.
Whoa, you want these people to join you when she still wants to follow what Teddy put out? She doesn't realize Teddy was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I would trust these people.
That's true. Yeah. Well, there's another trust thing, right?
Yeah. All right, Margaret, we are at our segment and the award goes to. So tell me, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
I just really liked all of the moments with Daniel because I thought he was so clever, so funny, and just, I guess, when he had the gun and then the knife that he lifted from the guy who pushed him against the wall. I just thought he's always planning. He's always, so I thought that the whole thing that he had going on in this episode was really quite clever. And really, I felt bad for him because he's convinced that he's missing this confession to the daughter.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting that they put such an emphasis on that. But if that's what's going to get him to do things, that he may or may not do, because you just never really know what's going on in somebody's head when they're kind of losing it.
I know.
And that's, the one thing that I was trying to figure out is he delusional or is he just a mastermind? Because he played that over in Virginia's camp when he was the barber, and they all thought he was crazy, but he wasn't. So I still think that's what's the underlying or the thread. I think that's really how he's playing this. He may be heartbroken because of the daughter, but that was a few seasons ago. It was a couple of years ago or whatever. He should be a little more resolved with that. But anyway, so what did you think?
Okay, so my favorite quote, character, or moment is my favorite character, which is Daniel. So I agree with you. How can he not be? He is one of he's like the fan favorite. He seems to top the list. Yeah. I was looking it up today. I had known that previously, but I looked it up again, and he tops 2 of the lists. So people really are intrigued by him. And I just think it's due to the actor, Ruben Blades, who portrays him. He's just an amazing actor. And some of the moments with him and Luciana were so moving and heartfelt. And, he tells her that she has seen what he's done and who he is, but she stays. And he says, even though we're not blood relative, we are family. As of today, we are family. And, he says it kind of with his voice quivering. So I appreciated that. I enjoyed, like you said, every moment with Daniel, but that one just was a little bit highlighted for me. But then on the other side of those tender moments is Luciana's decision and how Daniel tells her that she must be certain if this is another lie, it could break him. And his eyes were so big in that shot. And so it made me wonder what you were saying about, is he faking some of it? Because I really do think he believes, I don't know if he really believes that she's alive, but I think he's so committed in his mind to ask her for forgiveness. And we've seen it even before all of this, even when they were back in Mexico. And remember when he was dealing with that fire at Strand's Partners Resort. That was I think in season 2. And that whole fire happened. He has been a little bit shaky sometimes on his mental state. So it just makes me wonder where he's at. But the way that he kept asking Luciana, are you sure? Are you sure? I kind of felt like he was testing her, like, are you sure you want to say this to me? Because kind of knew the answer for himself, but then wasn't really sure. I don't know. I don't know where this is going to lead for them. And I think it's going to be a little bit heartbreaking when we get there. And when he killed that guy that Wes that
The
was
kid?
about to, when he killed that kid, he does say to Wes that the truth about people always is disappointing. And it just made me wonder if that was foreshadowing in this episode. And also, as you had brought up too, about how he said, he's going to see Ofelia and tell her all this stuff, and you taking it as he will tell her because he'll die and he'll tell her then, and how it just makes you worried for Luciana. I do think she's a good character, and I hope that she doesn't, they both don't perish at the same time.
I don't know. I'm surprised that they hung on to her after Nick, who she had been together with. And the thing that I just remembered was how she was so community oriented back then when she was with him. So her character has been pretty consistent with how she's doing stuff. So that's why it's not a surprise. She's not going outside of her comfort zone. In other words, we're trying to take care of people and protect them. So
exactly,
and that's something that Wes probably doesn't really know about her. But she was kind of the rogue back then with Nick, because he was always trying to upset the apple cart almost. I liked him. I'm sad that they got rid of him.
I know. Well, that was his doing, though. He didn't want to be on the show anymore, so they had to, unfortunately.
Well, and where is he now? Who knows?
Well, so much to speculate, but I can't wait for the next episode. It is entitled Sunny Boy, and I believe it'll concentrate on missing Mo. Mo goes missing. And there's Strand's paranoia and John Dory Sr. stepping up to the plate. So I'm excited to see it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that wraps up our conversation on Fear the Walking Dead. Tell me, Margaret, what else? Are you watching any other TV shows or movies? Tell me.
So all this time that I'm watching Hulu, because they do have some really good series, I'm waiting for the
Handmaid's Tale?
Yes. I can't wait for that to come out. But I've been watching these previews for this Under the Banner of Heaven, and it's got that Garfield guy in it, and I know you like him.
I know. I want to watch this. Yeah, I want to watch this. So tell me about it.
It fascinated me because it just looked, the way that it was shot was so dark, and it's a crime. It's a true life crime story about a Mormon.
Yeah.
The Mormon community, which is the Latter-day Saints. So they keep referring to them as LDSs. LDS. I'm like, LSD? I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And then I was like, Jesus of Latter-day Saints. So it's LDS, Latter-day Saints, which is the Mormons. It's an interestingly shot, very, very dark. And it's horrific because it opens with the murder of a mother and a child, and the mother is the girl, the Daisy Edgar Jones from Normal People.
Oh, I love that show too.
So it's a series of flashbacks and interactions, and but she and the baby, his 15-month-old baby, are murdered, and they don't know who did it, why they did it, all this other stuff, and he is the detective on the case. So it's interesting to see how he interacts with his people, because that is his religion. He is a very religious guy. So it's heavy duty on the religion, and they're praying, and they're this, that, and the other thing. And it's just a really interesting kind of viewpoint, or open, behind the curtain kind of thing on the community, the Mormon community, and then all this stuff that is surrounding this. And it is based on a true story. So I don't know how, it's a miniseries. So I think it's 7 episodes complete, and they released 2. So I watched the first 2. And now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to see more. So as far as movies go, I flashbacked to 2019 on Netflix with Point Blank. And
2009.
I know. So, but I also have seen it before. And I just didn't realize it until maybe 5-7 minutes into it. I'm like, oh, I've seen this. I'll watch it again. And it was pretty good. It's kind of a nonstop roller coaster. It's starts with a murder in a house. You see it from the street, so you see the flash of the guns, and then this guy jumps out a window, and then he's running into the street, and then the other guy is in a car who's supposed to pick him up. They're on like walkie-talkies or radios or maybe the phones, I'm not sure. And he ends up hitting him. So he's now in the street, and the guy in the car takes off because the cops are now on the scene, because this happens to be a prominent DA who is in charge of this big case or the corruption. But it was really, really interesting. And Marcia Gay Harden is the detective who is the main central antagonist.
Okay.
So it's an easy 90-minute movie to watch. So what is Shining Girls? What is that about?
Oh, it's on Apple TV. Stars Elizabeth Moss.
Oh.
She stars, directs, and is executive producer. So I knew I wanted to watch this because she was in it, but I have only seen one episode. I'm not sure if there's a few episodes released, but I could only watch one this past week. But it's very intriguing in the first episode. She's a woman who has suffered a violent assault and is struggling to put her life back together. She seems to have these memory lapses or breaks in reality. Like at one point she's a journalist and she walks up and she says, "Oh, you're sitting at my desk." And the other reporter says, "No, this is my desk. This is where I always sit." And she's like looking at him and he's all, "You sit over there, the same place you've sat at for however many years." And she like looks at him like, "Holy shit." Like, really? And then she goes over to her desk and she like looks at things, but that just is one instance. Like that happened a few times throughout this episode. Mm-hmm. And also at the same time, we see Jamie Bell, who plays an unsettling character. You're not exactly sure where he plays. I don't know if he is the one that attacked her. I'm not sure yet. There's also a murder that occurs that seems similar to what happened to Elizabeth Moss' character. So there's all these pieces that you still have to put together. And so it seems very intriguing. I think it'll be a good show, and I can't wait to see the next episode. So I'll report on it. If it continues to be really good, I'll bring it up and let people know. But so far, the first episode seemed to be pretty good. But I've spent all my time on Ozark season 4, which is on Netflix.
Oh, I don't want to know. I didn't realize it was back on. So don't tell me anything.
I'm not going to tell you anything because I really don't want to spoil it. But what I want to say is I love the show when people are tested and, who they really are is revealed. And for people that haven't seen Ozark, it's about the Bird family. Jason Bateman and Laura Linney are the parents. They have 2 kids. They launder money for the cartel and they make deals with all kinds of people, criminals, landowners, politicians, law enforcement, charitable foundations. It's just like everybody's like corrupt or willing to do whatever it is to, get ahead, or to hide things from others, right? And I just feel like the show really takes you for a ride. I will say the ending has surprises, but the thing that stuck out to me was that criminal behavior and bad luck is a vicious cycle. And sometimes it is inescapable, which is really kind of depressing and sad at times. So that's really what stuck out to me.
This is it though, right? This is it for
I
it.
saw the last episode at my eyes were like, I have to see this. I am going to finish this. I'm going to sit here and watch it all. I didn't even watch American Idol last night. I didn't watch anything else because I am committed to seeing the rest of Ozark. It was really good. And what's interesting about the finale, which again, I'm not going to tell you any pieces, but I'm going to say there are loose ends tied up, but there are some ones that are dangling. So it made me wonder, could this eventually pick up in a couple years? Could a character, go in a new direction in a spinoff? I don't know, but they left it where nothing is super tidy. And as it should be, right? Because this is a messy show with a lot of corruption. So
yeah. How many episodes?
7. There's 7.
Oh, wow. So 7
Great.
hours. Okay,
Yeah.
Like a work day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So great show, great writing, great acting for those who don't know about Ozark. It's really well done, but there is a lot of violence, so be prepared, and that is on Netflix. Also on Netflix is Grace and Frankie. This is their last season, 7th season. They're 94 episodes. It is the longest running Netflix show to date. Stars Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. It is the first show that I started watching on Netflix. That was what drew me to Netflix, was this show. It was one of my favorites. And I will say that the first several seasons were better seasons, but these ladies are so good, you know, as actresses. They're so good. They're so funny that I really wanted to see it through and see what happens. I just started it. It dropped last week. I am going to continue it. But I heard that the finale is emotional, and I do hear that there's a Dolly Parton cameo, so that would be fun.
9 to 5.
Yeah, because the 3 of them came out in a movie together. So I'm looking forward to enjoying this week. But I love that show. And so anybody just wants comedy, if you want opposite of violence, then watch this. It's comedy.
You'd be crazy by the time they go to bed.
Yeah, I know, right?
What do I do? Nightmares or giggles?
And their episodes are pretty short. I think they're like 23 minutes or something. So you can just get right through them. You could just binge a lot of their episodes. And they're funny. They talk about things. They're a crack up. They're like, their opposites attract, but they're like friends. Like they in the first season, they don't really like, or it's not so much that Lily Tomlin's character doesn't like Jane Fonda's, but Jane Fonda's more like uptight, you know, everything's got to be perfect, professional. And, you know, Lily Tomlin is this pot smoking, cussing, you know, free, personality. So, it's just how they come together and how they really rely on each other, how they really need each other. It's really about friendship. And so it's just it's a really special show. But I also watched Top Gun on Netflix. It's from 1986 for those people that don't know about it.
Never born.
Tom Cruise, Kelly McGillis, Anthony Edwards, and Tom Skerritt. Wow. It's about students at a U.S. Navy elite fighter weapons school compete to be the best in class. It has a fantastic soundtrack. It was a blockbuster movie at the time. There are great aerial stunts. And I will tell you, when I first watched it, I wasn't into the flight part. I just watched it because, you know, it was Tom Cruise and I'm like, oh, I want to watch him. But now that I rewatched it, one, the soundtrack is amazing. Like every single song is like so good. But those aerial stunts for being in 1986, I'm like, these are good. I thought it was directed really well. And I think that was, a high for that movie and how that was done. Mm-hmm. And Cruise is Pete Maverick. And I don't know if people know this, but there is a 2022 movie coming out, Top Gun Maverick. And so that is named after Cruise's character, who is Maverick. And they've been wanting to release this before COVID and the shutdown, but they couldn't because they had to still work on it. So it's taken until now to put it out. So it's releasing 5/27, and Miles Teller will be in it. He plays Goose's son. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm excited because we're going to be doing a podcast episode on this. So please look for that in the beginning of June. So those are my recommendations. Margaret, thank you so much for your recommendations and for hanging out with me again. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our website at screensinfocus.com and tell a friend. We would love more members of our TV club. You can rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. This helps other listeners find us. Next show will be on Fear the Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 12. You can find our website listed in our show notes. We'll see you next time. Bye.